Oh dear, you couldn't make this up. A new poll has revealed that Sir Keir Starmer is the least popular Prime Minister on record, and Rachel Reeves is the least popular Chancellor since their records began. 2 years ago at the Labour Party conference, Sir Keir Starmer was treated like a rock star. That was, of course, before Labour were elected. But their first 14 months has been, shall we say, dire, to put it mildly. After promising to be the grown-ups and wipe out sleaze...
Rebuild trust by reforming the centre of government, cleaning up sleaze.
On being elected, they kick things off with Freebiegate. Members of the front bench were exposed as having their hands firmly in the freebie trough with clothes, glasses, tickets, etc. Keir Starmer being the worst offender. A very, very bad start for the party elected on a mandate to eradicate government sleaze.
I knew of his association with Epstein, but had I known then what I know now, I'd have never appointed him.
They promised not to tax working people, so they kicked off their policy machine with a bombshell, scrapping the winter fuel allowance, a promise not in their manifesto, done with a level of arrogance that got the backs up of even those who supported them. It didn't go well.
Today I can announce that this winter 9 million pensioners will now receive the winter fuel payment.
So they backtracked. Then the VAT raid on private schools, initiated mid-year at the most inopportune moment for parents, but timed to raise as much revenue as possible, which has royally backfired, as parents predictably took their kids out of fee-paying schools to flood the state system, and independent schools started closing, causing a ripple effect to supporting businesses. Then they went for the farmers to claw back inheritance tax, risking food stability and the farming industry itself breaking a promise.
I want to farm. I want a future in farming, and at this rate there's not going to be one. You know, I just want to feed the nation. You need a farmer 3 times a day, every day, and I want to be part of that. And it's so important. You know, I can't understand the hatred that Labour have against farmers. You can't make it up. They've stopped everything they can. You know, they're taxing us to the point we're not even breaking even.
Inheritance tax on farmers was not received well. I suppose on that they kept their promise. Somebody who has died is no longer working. From there, they went for the sick and disabled. I guess if they are too sick or disabled to work or can't work, then they're not working people either. That, of course, was rejected by their own party. And now their digital ID plan, which has united every major political party against it, with a petition of over 2 million signatures calling for plans for it to be scrapped. And, of course, they ditched Rwanda and promised to smash the gangs.
To go after the criminal gangs, to smash the gang networks.
To smash the smuggling gangs.
Smash the gangs.
To smash the gangs.
But all they've done is smash the record, doubling the number of crossings. The small boats keep coming with no real policy to stop them. It really couldn't be going any worse. And let's not forget the list of MPs and officials who have left in disgrace. Let's work backwards. Peter Mandelson, the most undiplomatic ambassador ever. Angela Rayner, Housing Minister who evaded stamp duty. Roshanara Ali, the Homeless Minister who made her tenants homeless and to raise the rent. Tulip Sadiq, Anti-Corruption Minister, investigated for corruption. Mike Amesby, who punched a constituent to the floor. And Louise Haigh, sacked after an old fraud conviction resurfaced. And that is just some of them. It's going so badly that even Sadiq Khan is throwing his hat into the ring alongside Andy Burnham to lead the party. Unfortunately, it would seem that Keir Starmer and his Chancellor are not reading the room. The economy is contracting, inflation is spiralling, with growth on the floor. Slagging off Nigel Farage won't help either.
It's a completely different thing to say we are going to reach in to people who are lawfully here and start removing them. They are our neighbours.
That proposal is immoral, to deport people who are already here if they don't pass more stringent rules. Do you think it's a racist policy?
Well, I do think that it is a racist policy. I do think it's immoral. It needs to be called out for what it is.
Unfortunately, the Labour Party are the Tories on steroids. They have achieved the unachievable and done in 14 months what took the Tories 14 years, changing the leader won't make a blind bit of difference. Lola, thank you very much for joining me. Lola, was I being totally unfair and super critical of the Labour Party?
Hi.
Or what bits were terrible, and what do you think? What do you think? What are your thoughts on what I was saying?
I do feel like it was a bit tongue-in-cheek. I mean, you really enjoyed yourselves there,
I
so
did,
fair
yes.
play, fair play. We are here to have a good time. Ultimately, the Labour Party conference is buzzing and everybody is in a positive mood because the sun's shining in Liverpool and we are back here to lay out our vision for the next year to the conference that we come back to every year. I mean, ultimately, what we've done in the last year has had a huge transformational impact on the way that the country receives politics. So we are determined to make sure that we put the state and everything in our country back in the service of working people, and that takes really whole widespread reform. It has not been easy, and it would be daft of me to say it has, but I've just come from my constituency of Darlington, where people from all over the town, all walks of life, came together to celebrate our 200-year anniversary of the first passenger railway. Now, it was magical. And at that time, when 200 years ago, when they got the first railway off the ground, people said, it can't be done, you'll never get it to work. People said, what about the horse industry, the horse and cart industry? People said, what about the train tracks going through my land? There was always a big cacophony of people saying, no, 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 no. And that is politics. You're always going to get it from all angles, but you have to be determined to deliver for what you set out to do. And for us, for me, it's about making sure that everyone in our country, no matter where you're born, no matter what your background, can have a decent crack at success. And we are putting the foundations in place to make that happen.
But you've got to admit that these last 14 months have been particularly bad. And now there is talk of changing the leader. Where do you stand with that?
So we've had 5 interest rate cuts, and what that actually means in practice is people's mortgages going down. We said we'd tackle the cost of living. There is more to do on that, but the trade deals that the Prime Minister has done overseas have restored our position and our standing as a great country to do business with. We've seen huge levels of investment. We've reallocated money into the defence budget, and we are doing the hard miles to put the country back in a position to thrive again for all of us. And it hasn't been easy, you know. There have been things that we might not do again because there's been hiccups along the road, you know. But actually, ultimately, it's been a year of transformational change in terms of the legislation around employment rights, which Reform and the Tories voted against. And recently, it came back to the House because the Lords rejected to try and water it down. That is the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation. And what it means is, and I know this because somebody in the pub last night said to me, that it had happened to them, right? So when this act comes in, you can no longer short pay people. Your viewers will know what that means. That means where you go and you get your pay slip, you look at it and you're missing some hours. Then your boss says, oh, well, you know, I'll get it to you next time. That is outrageous. There are things around challenging your contract. You won't be able to take people for a ride anymore. And on the digital ID point that you brought up, the point about that for me, I've been campaigning for digital ID because ultimately, it's about making the state work better for all of us. We have got to make sure that if you have the right to work in this country, prove it. If you are going to employ workers, make sure they have the right to work in this country. We can't have a shadow economy where people aren't paying taxes whilst the rest of us all, every month or week in, week out, pay a chunk to HMRC. So
But
it's a sensible
those
policy,
things,
and
the
I'm
successes,
excited about conference.
But Lola, and there have been some successes, there's no denying it, but I'm talking about the optics of the way the party appears to be operating. Angela Rayner, Peter Mandelson, Tulip Sadiq, all the, you know, the party came in promising to eradicate sleaze, and pretty much every week there's somebody who's done something and so needs to go. And also, with regard to the digital ID, it's very, very unpopular.
I don't think it's every week.
Well, OK, I've listed some of them, but there's always some scandal or something. I mean,
I think people
we were
are
even
scared.
talking about Morgan McSweeney the other day and a sort of £700,000.
People are scared about digital ID because they're... So I think that those things have been cleared by the Electoral Commission and investigated properly, as they should be in an open and free democracy. The fact is, people are concerned about digital ID because they don't know what it's going to be used for. This is the digitisation of existing ID that is operated by the state. So you already have a passport and a driver's licence, both of which are managed by the state. This is about putting that into one place that you can show really easily why you can work. Because it has to be in one place with a digital form of ID so that you can really easily prove, when as a working person, that you have the right to work here.
Yeah, but the infrastructure...
It's a good and sensible policy.
The infrastructure...
And I think people need to...
The infrastructure, though, to support it isn't there. So even yesterday, Harrods were hacked. We're dealing with a situation with Jaguar Land Rover, and the government have had to bail them out to a tune of 1.6 or 1.5 billion, I think. And so the infrastructure to protect the information, the data, simply isn't there. And these things that we're seeing are examples of that. We've had airports shutting down. We've had the Afghan data leak, which I know was not under your watch, but these are examples of where digital ID sounds great in principle, but now you've centralised the data.
Infrastructure, we have to upgrade it.
Well, you need to do it before you bring out the ID, not afterwards.
That is what we're doing. So we have set a trade deal with President Trump when he visited to say that we're going to have huge swathes of digital infrastructure built in this country where we're going to be at the cutting edge of digital infrastructure, and it has to have a security first approach because, like you say, there are people using digital to undermine our democracy, to attack us, and we can't have that. Any digital ID will have to be the safest digital ID you can get. The Australian government already use it. It's already being used in lots of other European countries. But ultimately, we are lagging behind. Our public services are not at the standard that any of my constituents or I expect. And that is not because of the working people who are staffing them, turning up every day, trying to do their job. It's because we never put any money in the last government, the last 14 years, to upgrade the systems.
Okay.
They're working on teletext, basically. Half the public services working on teletext. We have to get digital.
I think they also need the consent of the British public, and right now a lot of people don't want it. But can I just ask you one thing as well? Earlier today, Sir Keir Starmer called Nigel Farage's immigration plan racist. Do you agree?
Deporting people who have been given by our legal system the right to remain in this country, who contribute to our society, who are our neighbours, our friends, and play key roles, is not right. And I don't know why that Farage would think that the British people would go with that. That is when I knock on the doors and people raise immigration to me, they say, get control. They say, get control of the borders. And I say, yes, I agree. We must sort out the immigration system. The last government absolutely left it to rack and ruin. They got rid of the Home Office processing staff. They opened the hotels. They completely lost control. We are taking back control. It takes time. We have made so many different upgrades to the system.
But is his plan racist?
Because you cannot go around saying you are going to deport people who have the right to remain here.
Is that racist, though?
Well, it's definitely prejudice, and it's certainly not what I believe in. It is certainly not what I believe in, and it's not what anybody here believes in, and I'm sure most of your viewers don't believe in it, because British values are about saying you pay your way,
so
you
it
work
is racist.
Hard,
so you think it's racist? It's a yes or no?
Well,
is it racist?
I think ultimately, he's saying it. He's saying it to get headlines. I can't even believe that he would think that. The idea that you would go door to door and say to people, you've got the right to remain here, you've made a life here, you contribute to our society, and now you need to go somewhere else. It's mad.
You said it's prejudice, but is it racist? Yes or no? And then we can...
Well, if PM says it's racist, then I'll say it's racist.
All right. Lola McAvoy, thank you so much. It's really good to talk to you. That is Lola McAvoy. Really good to talk to her.